The restaurant was crowded, noisy, and full of life. The smell of fresh food mixed with the chatter of customers. Plates clattered, and waiters rushed from table to table. Among them, a young black waitress moved gracefully, balancing a tray of drinks. Her name was Lena, and she worked hard every day. She smiled politely at everyone, though most of the customers didn't notice her. Lena had been serving here for a few years. She knew every menu item, and every tiny problem that could happen during a busy shift. Today was just another ordinary day, or so she thought. The front door opened, and a hush seemed to pass through the staff. A man in a sharp suit entered, holding the hand of an old woman. She moved slowly, and Lena noticed immediately that she didn't speak. Her lips didn't move, but her eyes were sharp and bright. She was deaf, and the way she looked around showed she was not an ordinary customer. The man was a millionaire, or at least he looked like one. His expensive suit, polished shoes, and confident walk told everyone he was someone important. But it was the grandmother who captured Lena's attention. She had a calm but mysterious presence, like she was observing everything carefully. Lena took a deep breath and walked toward them. She placed the menu on the table with a gentle smile. "Good afternoon, ma'am. What would you like to drink?" she asked. The grandmother didn't respond. Lena realized she couldn't hear her, so she tried using simple gestures, pointing to the drinks and smiling warmly. The grandmother's eyes followed Lena's hand movements, and then she gave a small, mysterious smile. It was a smile that felt like a secret, like she knew something Lena didn't. Lena's heart skipped a beat. She had served many people in her life, but this woman felt different, important. Meanwhile, the millionaire was busy on his phone, talking in a loud voice. He didn't notice Lena at all. Lena felt nervous but focused. She wanted to make a good impression, not just for the grandmother, but also for herself. As Lena took their orders, she noticed something unusual. The grandmother's eyes kept moving toward Lena, studying her closely. Lena felt as if every gesture, every step she took, was being watched. There was a silent tension in the air. She poured water into the glasses, making sure not to spill a drop. Every move had to be perfect. Even a small mistake could ruin the first impression. But the grandmother didn't seem angry or annoyed. Instead, she nodded slightly, approving Lena's careful actions. Lena brought their drinks to the table and smiled. She tried a small gesture, pointing to the menu and signing, "Do you like this?" The grandmother's eyes sparkled, and she nodded again. Lena felt a tiny wave of relief, but also curiosity. What was this woman thinking? Why was she so calm and confident? Then, just as Lena was about to leave, the grandmother's hand moved slightly. She wrote something on a small piece of paper. Lena bent down and picked it up quietly. She unfolded the note, and her eyes widened. She couldn't believe what she was reading. The note said just a few words, but it felt like a key to something important. Lena's hands trembled slightly as she looked back at the grandmother. The old woman's eyes were calm, but there was a spark of knowing, like she had chosen Lena for a reason. As Lena walked back to the kitchen, she couldn't stop thinking about the note. Something big was about to happen, and she had no idea what. The millionaire finished his call, still unaware of the silent connection between his grandmother and the young waitress. But Lena knew one thing. Today would not be an ordinary day. Something extraordinary was waiting, and it had just begun. Lena could hardly concentrate as she carried plates back to the kitchen. Her hands were steady, but her mind raced. The note from the grandmother kept repeating in her head. She had no idea why this old woman had chosen her, why she had written those few words, or what it all meant. Her colleague, Jamal, noticed her unusual behavior. "Lena, are you okay?" he asked, wiping his hands on a towel. I got a note," Lena said quietly, glancing toward the table with the grandmother's Saturday. "From the lady, the deaf grandmother. I don't know what it means." Jamal leaned closer. "A note? What did it say?" Lena hesitated. She wasn't sure she should tell anyone yet, but curiosity got the better of her. She carefully unfolded a small piece of paper and read aloud, "You have a gift. Don't waste it. Meet me after your shift." Jamal's eyes widened. "A gift? What gift? Do you know what she's talking about?" I I don't know, Lena admitted. I've always just worked here, served tables, smiled, and done my job. I never thought I had a gift. But she believes in me. She saw something I didn't. Meanwhile, the grandmother watched from across the restaurant, her eyes calm but penetrating. Lena felt a strange mix of nervousness and excitement. She couldn't explain why, but she felt that her life might change today. As the shift went on, Lena kept sneaking glances at the grandmother. Every time their eyes met, Lena felt a spark of connection, as if the old woman could see into her very soul. She tried to focus on her work, but she was distracted by thoughts of a mysterious note. Then something unexpected happened. A customer spilled a drink on the floor, and Lena rushed over to help. She cleaned it quickly, and in that moment, the grandmother's eyes twinkled. It was as if she was silently applauding Lena's kindness, her attentiveness, her calm under pressure. Lena began to realize something. Maybe the gift the grandmother mentioned wasn't something magical or strange. Maybe it was something simple, her natural ability to stay calm, to notice small things, to help others without expecting anything in return. But if that was the gift, why had the grandmother singled her out? Just as Lena was pondering, the grandmother's hand moved again. This time, she gestured for Lena to come closer after the shift. Lena nodded subtly, feeling both honored and nervous. What could the grandmother want to show her? The rest of the shift passed in a blur. Lena served food, refilled drinks, and smiled at customers, but her mind was somewhere else entirely. The thought of a secret meeting, of a mysterious gift, kept her heart pounding. Finally, the restaurant quieted down, and Lena wiped her hands on her apron. She took a deep breath and walked toward the table. The grandmother's eyes met hers, calm and knowing. "You came." The grandmother signed slowly, her hands moving gracefully. Lena nodded, tried to read every gesture, every expression. The grandmother handed Lena a small, folded envelope. Lena opened it carefully and froze. Inside were photographs of her from years ago, performing small acts of kindness, helping strangers, volunteering, moments she had almost forgotten. At the bottom, a note read, "Your heart, your care, your actions, they matter. They are rare. You have something special. Don't waste it." Lena felt tears prick her eyes. She had always worked hard, always tried to be kind, but she never thought anyone noticed. She never thought her small actions could mean anything. And yet, here was this grandmother, a stranger in a world full of noise, who saw it all. Her mind raced with questions. Why her? Why now? And most importantly, what did the grandmother want her to do next? The next day at the restaurant, Lena could hardly focus on anything. Every glance toward the table where the grandmother had sat made her heart race. The note, the photographs, the message, it all felt like the start of something she had never imagined. She knew she had to find out what the grandmother truly meant. As she carried plates across the crowded restaurant, her colleague Jamal noticed her distracted expression. "You still thinking about that lady?" he asked, teasing. Lena smiled weakly. "I can't stop thinking about her. She believes in me. She said I have a gift. A real gift." Jamal shook his head, half in disbelief. "A gift? What gift? You're amazing, Lena. Don't get me wrong, but everyone here works hard. What makes you different?" Lena didn't answer. She wasn't sure herself. All she knew was that the grandmother had seen something extraordinary in her, a spark she had never recognized. Suddenly, the restaurant manager called Lena to the front desk. "Lena, an envelope just came for you," he said, handing over a small, official-looking package. Lena's hands trembled as she took it. Everyone around her leaned closer, curious. Her colleagues watched in surprise as Lena carefully opened the envelope. Inside were several documents and a folded note written in neat handwriting. "You have been chosen for something rare. Meet me at the address enclosed. Come prepared to show who you really are." The note included an address she had never heard of and instructions to arrive alone. Lena's pulse quickened. Her colleagues, who had been watching, whispered among themselves. Some looked amazed, some skeptical. Lena felt a mix of excitement and fear. What could this be? A contest? A scholarship? or something bigger? The grandmother's intentions were still unclear, but Lena felt a strange reassurance. Somehow, she knew that whatever awaited her was important, and she couldn't ignore it. Throughout the day, Lena's usual calm and efficiency started to shift. Every step she took, every gesture, carried a sense of purpose. Customers noticed a new confidence in her. Even the millionaire, who had returned to the restaurant with his grandmother, seemed to sense the change. He watched Lena quietly from a distance, curious about the young waitress who seemed different today. Something about her aura, the way she moved, the way she interacted with customers, caught his attention. He had no idea why, but he couldn't take his eyes off her. By the end of her shift, Lena took a deep breath and decided she would follow the instructions in the envelope. She didn't know what awaited her, but she felt ready to face it. This was her moment, the first step into something beyond her ordinary life. As she walked toward the exit, she glanced at the grandmother, who was watching from the corner of the restaurant. The old woman's eyes twinkled, almost as if she were silently cheering Lena on. Lena nodded subtly, understanding that this mysterious figure had chosen her for a reason. Back in the kitchen, Jamal shook his head. "I can't believe this," he said quietly. "Who even does something like that? Sends an envelope, gives a secret meeting. It's like a movie." Lena smiled, her mind racing. "It feels like one," she whispered. "And maybe it's finally my turn to step into it." That night, as she prepared for what lay ahead, Lena couldn't help but replay every moment she had shared with the grandmother. The smile, the note, the subtle gestures, they all pointed to something bigger, something life-changing. The morning sun spilled golden light into the busy streets as Lena walked toward the address written on the mysterious envelope. Her heart beat fast, not from the walk, but from anticipation. Every step felt heavier than the last, filled with the weight of the unknown. She kept the envelope tightly in her hand, its edges soft but powerful in their message. "Come prepared to show who you really are." Back at the restaurant, the millionaire, Mr. Whitmore, sat quietly with his grandmother. He had noticed something different about Lena yesterday. Something small, yet impossible to ignore. The way she carried herself, the confidence in her movements, the genuine kindness in her smile. It all lingered in his mind. "Grandmother," he said, curious, "what is it about that waitress? She seems unusual." The grandmother's lips curved in a subtle smile, though her eyes were sharp and knowing. She didn't speak, but her gaze pierced through him, almost as if to say, "You'll see soon enough." Meanwhile, Lena reached a quiet, elegant building tucked behind the bustling streets. It didn't look like much from the outside, but there was a sense of importance in the way the doors were polished and the windows glimmered. She paused, inhaled deeply, and stepped inside. Inside, the atmosphere was calm yet tense. A few people were already there, all waiting quietly. Lena noticed that none of them seemed ordinary. Each person carried a confidence, a quiet strength. She felt a flicker of nervousness. Was this a test? A competition? Or something else entirely? Suddenly, a soft voice broke the silence. "Lena, welcome," the grandmother said. She sat gracefully in a chair at the far end of the room, her eyes locked on Lena. There was a calm authority in her presence that immediately demanded respect. "You've been chosen because of what I've seen in you," the grandmother continued, signing carefully for Lena to read. "Your kindness, your patience, your attention to small details, they are rare. But talent alone is not enough. Today, you must prove that you can act with courage and confidence." Lena nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. She didn't know what was expected of her, but she felt an undeniable pull to rise to the challenge. Meanwhile, Mr. Whitmore, curious beyond reason, had followed a subtle hint from his grandmother and arrived quietly. He watched from a distance, his eyes scanning Lena as she prepared for whatever awaited her. There was something magnetic about her energy, a quiet power that drew him in. He couldn't take his eyes off her. The grandmother handed Lena a small, folded object. Lena opened it slowly. Inside was a card with instructions, simple words but heavy with meaning. "Show who you truly are. Trust yourself. Others will follow." As Lena read the card, she realized this was not a test of skills or knowledge. It was a test of character. It was about who she was at her core. She felt a surge of determination. She had always been kind, always helped others quietly, without expecting recognition. And now, the moment had come for her to step forward, to shine in a way she never had before. The millionaire, standing just behind a pillar, couldn't help but admire her. He saw the confidence slowly building in her, the way she straightened her back, lifted her head, and prepared herself for the challenge. There was no doubt now. This young waitress was extraordinary. Lena took a deep breath, her hands slightly trembling as she held the card from the grandmother. Every word seemed simple, yet heavy with meaning. Show who you truly are. Trust yourself. Others will follow. She stepped forward into the center of the room. The other people present, quiet and observant, turned their eyes toward her. Lena felt a sudden wave of nervousness, but beneath it was a spark of courage she had never felt before. Do not worry, the grandmother signed slowly, her hands graceful and confident. This is not a test of skill. It is a test of heart. Show the truth in your actions. Lena nodded. She remembered all the years she had worked quietly in the restaurant, helping customers, observing details no one else noticed, and putting her best into even the smallest tasks. Perhaps, she thought, this was her chance to reveal the side of her that no one ever saw. Then, the grandmother handed Lena a small box. Lena opened it to find a delicate, golden pendant inside. It wasn't just jewelry. It was engraved with tiny words she could barely read. Courage and kindness can move mountains. Lena realized immediately that this was more than a gift. It was a symbol, a challenge, and a promise all at once. Before she could process it fully, the grandmother signed again. There's a room down the hall. Inside, you'll face 3 tasks. Each will seem ordinary, but they are designed to show who you truly are. Lena's heart raced. Ordinary tasks? She had handled thousands of tasks in her life. Serving tables, solving small problems, calming angry customers. But she sensed that these were different. Each task would reveal her character, her instincts, and her heart. As she walked toward the first room, Lena felt the eyes of everyone following her, including the millionaire, Mr. Whitmore. He remained just out of sight, curious, observing every small gesture. The way Lena carried herself, her steady steps, her quiet determination, all fascinated him. The first task was simple yet unusual. A small group of volunteers needed help organizing a stack of papers, but the papers were mixed with puzzles, riddles, and handwritten notes. Lena quickly realized this was more than just organization. It required patience, attention to detail, and empathy. She smiled, and without hesitation, she began helping the volunteers, carefully sorting and arranging, noticing even the smallest mistakes, and correcting them quietly. The second task tested her observation skills. A room was set with several props, including a small plant, a broken vase, and scattered notes. Lena had to notice the hidden pattern connecting them all. As she studied the items, she realized that each represented an act of kindness or courage, moments where small decisions could have a big impact. Her heart swelled with understanding. She arranged them correctly, showing not just intelligence, but insight and compassion. The final task was the most personal. Lena was asked to speak, not to a crowd, but to a single observer, the grandmother herself. Tell me who you are. The grandmother signed, her eyes calm but piercing. Lena took a deep breath. She spoke quietly, describing her life, her work at the restaurant, her small act of kindness, her dreams, and her fears. For the first time, she spoke not to prove herself, but to share her truth. When she finished, the grandmother's eyes glistened, and she nodded with approval. Lena felt a rush of relief and pride. She had faced her first true challenge and had done it with honesty and courage. Lena stepped out of the small private room, her heart still racing. The golden pendant glinted in the soft light, and she felt a strange mixture of pride and nervousness. She had just completed the 3 tasks. The first time she had ever been asked to reveal herself completely, without hiding behind small acts of service. She felt changed. The grandmother watched silently from her chair, her eyes calm but full of meaning. Lena realized that every gesture, every task, had been designed to show her true potential. And somehow, she had passed, not by skill alone, but by heart, kindness, and courage. Just then, the doors opened wider, and the staff of the restaurant, along with a small crowd of other observers, entered the room. They had been secretly watching, curious about what had been happening. Whispers filled the air. "Is that Lena?" "She's different." Lena's colleague, Jamal, pushed forward, his jaw dropping. "I can't believe this. She's amazing," he whispered. Other onlookers nodded, eyes wide with shock. Everyone who had seen Lena as a quiet, humble waitress was now witnessing a new version of her, a confident, radiant woman who seemed to command respect effortlessly. Then, from the back of the room, Mr. Whitmore stepped forward. His eyes were fixed on Lena, a mixture of astonishment and admiration in his gaze. He had expected curiosity, but he hadn't expected this. The confidence, the grace, the quiet authority she carried. It was beyond anything he had imagined. The grandmother signed slowly, deliberately. "Now you see, Lena, the world notices those who are true to themselves. You have always had it in you. This is your moment." Lena's lips trembled, but she smiled. I don't know what to say," she whispered. "I've only ever tried to do my best, help others, and stay true to myself. That is why you succeeded." The grandmother signed back. "It is not about showing off, but showing who you really are. That is rare and it is powerful." The crowd murmured in awe. Even the millionaire couldn't take his eyes off her. He approached slowly, extending a hand. "Lena, I had no idea," he said, his voice quiet but full of respect. "You're extraordinary. And this is just the beginning." For Lena, the realization hit hard. Her life as a simple waitress, unnoticed by many, had shifted in just a few hours. She had been seen, truly seen for the first time, not for her uniform, her job, or her place in the restaurant, but for who she was inside. The grandmother's eyes softened as she handed Lena another small note. This one read, "Your actions can inspire. Your heart can lead. The world is ready for you." Lena felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. She looked around at her colleagues, the observers, and Mr. Whitmore. Everyone's expressions reflected disbelief, admiration, and a newfound respect. She realized that her life was no longer ordinary. Her kindness, her patience, and her courage had created ripples far beyond the restaurant walls. Then came the final moment of shock. The grandmother signed one last message. "From this day forward, you are no longer just Lena the waitress. You are Lena, the one who moves hearts and changes lives." The room erupted in applause, whispers of amazement filling the air. Lena's colleagues were stunned, some speechless, others smiling with admiration. Even Mr. Whitmore seemed genuinely moved, nodding slowly as he realized that the young waitress he had casually noticed had become someone truly unforgettable. Lena took a deep breath. She had always wondered if small acts mattered, if being kind and attentive could ever make a difference. Now she knew. Her life had changed in ways she never imagined, but she also knew this was just the beginning of something even bigger. The room was quiet now, the applause fading, but Lena's heart was still racing. She held the golden pendant in her hand, feeling its weight. Not heavy, but full of meaning. She had completed the tasks, shown her heart, and transformed before everyone's eyes. Yet, deep down, she sensed that the grandmother had one more secret waiting for her. The grandmother's eyes sparkled as she signed slowly, carefully. "Lena, you have proven yourself. You have courage, kindness, and vision. It is time for your life to change." Lena's breath caught. She had dreamed of better days, of opportunities beyond the restaurant, but she never imagined this. What do you mean?" she whispered, barely daring to hope. From the side of the room, Mr. Whitmore stepped forward, his voice calm but filled with admiration. "Lena," he said, "I've been watching you. Your heart, your courage, your patience, it's rare. I want to offer you something that can change your life forever." Everyone in the room leaned in. Lena's colleagues gasped, whispering among themselves. The millionaire continued, "I want you to work with me, not as a waitress, not in my office, but as a partner in my foundation. You've shown that you have vision, empathy, and leadership. You can help change the lives of others, just like you changed ours today." Lena felt tears prick at her eyes. She had spent years serving tables, unnoticed, doing her best in silence. And now, she was being given a chance to impact thousands, maybe millions of lives. She swallowed hard, trying to steady her voice. I don't know what to say. Thank you. I'll do my best. The grandmother reached out and gently touched Lena's hand. She signed once more. Your small act of kindness led you here. Never forget the power you carry inside you. Lena looked around at the faces of her colleagues. Some were stunned, others smiling with pride. Jamal stepped forward and whispered, Lena, I always knew you were special. But this is unbelievable. The millionaire nodded, smiling. It is not magic. It is recognition of who you truly are. You inspired all of us today. Lena's heart swelled with gratitude and joy. She had never imagined that her small, quiet actions, helping customers, noticing small details, staying kind even when unnoticed, would lead to something as extraordinary. She realized that life had a way of rewarding those who stayed true to themselves. The grandmother stood, her hands folded calmly. She signed one final message. Go, Lena. Share your light. Lead with kindness. The world is waiting for you. Lena felt a surge of determination. She understood now that this was more than an opportunity. It was a mission. She had been chosen not for fame, not for wealth, but because she had something rare, a heart that could see, feel, and act with courage and love. As Lena walked out of the building, golden light spilling across her path, she knew her life would never be the same. The restaurant, her colleagues, even the millionaire's world. It was all a starting point for something bigger. She smiled, feeling the pendant's weight against her chest, a constant reminder of who she truly was and the journey she had begun. And as she turned to look back at the grandmother one last time, their eyes met, and Lena understood this was not the end. It was a beginning, a life filled with opportunity, purpose, and the power to inspire everyone around her.